Astro-Vāstu Interior Design for Scorpio Rising, a Mars Ketu-led water-fire containment doctrine for power, privacy, and inner stability for aware, empathic, and high-sensitivity individuals. What you are designing here is not a house. You are designing a containment field for power. As a Scorpio rising, space either protects and concentrates your intensity or quietly leaks it until vigilance, emotional overload, mistrust, and exhaustion become your baseline. When the environment is wrong, the symptoms are not loud. They are corrosive. Constant alertness, difficulty relaxing even at home, suppressed anger or sudden eruptions, sexual or creative frustration, and a deep sense that you must stay guarded to survive. Your home must never feel exposed, porous, or performative. It must feel sealed, intentional, and energetically private, a place where your nervous system is allowed to stand down. 1. First house. Lagna Zone overall spatial identity, power containment fieldy. You should treat your Lagna Zone as a threshold of control. The moment you enter, your body must feel, nothing can access me without permission. If this zone feels overly open, glassy, bright, or visually revealing, your Mars Ketu axis never relaxes, and hyper-vigilance becomes constant. You must prioritize containment, depth, and intentional boundaries. Energy should slow and condense here, not rush through. Long sightlines, transparent layouts, or excessive openness drain Scorpio silently. Work with deep but muted tones. Charcoal softened with warmth, deep taupe, espresso brown, muted burgundy, dark olive, or smoky plum. These colors stabilize intensity without turning it heavy. Avoid stark white, glossy finishes or reflective surfaces. They expose rather than protect. Furniture must feel grounded and substantial. Low, solid pieces with weight are essential. Avoid skeletal furniture, floating designs, or anything that feels temporary. Scorpio needs to feel that the space can hold pressure. Lighting must be low, warm, and controlled. Never harsh, never glaring. Lamps with focused pools of light are better than broad overhead illumination. Darkness here is not absence. It is safety. You may place one object that symbolizes strength or containment, a stone sculpture, a dark ceramic vessel, or a single piece of powerful art. If you work with crystals, obsidian, smoky quartz, or garnet placed discreetly are supportive. Never cluster them. Avoid mirrors, exposed glass, excessive decor, or anything that invites scrutiny. This zone must feel sealed, not expressive. 2. Second house. Main entrance and threshold boundary gate, control and survival safety. Your entrance determines how much of the outside world is allowed into your inner life. For Scorpio rising, this zone must establish dominance of boundary immediately. You should prioritize the east for conscious control and the north for strategic engagement, but without openness. The entrance must feel selective, not welcoming to all. The door should be solid, heavy, and understated. Dark wood, matte finishes, deep brown, charcoal, or muted maroon work best. Avoid glass panels, bright colors, or decorative excess. Your door is not an invitation, it is a filter. Hardware should feel strong and intentional. Iron, dark bronze, or brushed metal is preferable. Avoid delicate or ornamental handles. They weaken psychological security. Lighting must be subtle and directional, enough to see clearly, but never bright enough to expose. Shadows here are not negative. Uncontrolled brightness is. You should keep this zone minimal and closed. No clutter, no symbolism, no movement. If you use crystals, a small piece of black tourmaline or smoky quartz placed to the side, never facing outward, helps reinforce energetic boundaries. Avoid mirrors facing the entrance, shoe storage, decorative hanging items, or plants that feel inviting. This space should say, access is controlled. 3. Third house. Living room, controlled interaction, and selective engagement. This space governs how you interact without being invaded. If this zone is too open, symmetrical, or socially performative, you will feel drained after interaction, even with people you care about. You should design this space with defined edges. Partial enclosures, anchored seating, and clear boundaries between zones are essential. Scorpio does not thrive in open-plan exposure. Use deep neutrals and grounded tones, warm gray, muted teal, deep green, charcoal softened with texture. Avoid airy palettes, light pastels, or excessive brightness. Furniture should feel enclosing and intentional. Seating should have backs, sides, and weight. Avoid floating arrangements or face-to-face confrontational layouts. You need control over engagement distance. Lighting must be layered and low. Floor lamps and shaded table lamps are ideal. Avoid overhead glare or evenly lit rooms that feel surveilled. You may enhance this space with art that suggests depth, mystery, or psychological complexity, but never shock value. Scorpio responds to resonance, not display. Avoid excessive cushions, clutter, or social decor. When aligned, interaction feels optional, controlled, and non-draining. Canna 4. Fourth house, inner emotional reservoir, psychic safety, and emotional stability. This zone governs whether your intensity can finally settle instead of coil. If this space is visually chaotic, emotionally loaded, or overly bright, paranoia and emotional volatility quietly increase. You should design this area for depth, quiet, and emotional privacy. Use earthy water tones, deep taupe, clay, warm charcoal, muted rust, soft black softened by texture. Avoid high contrast or decorative drama. Furniture must feel deeply grounding. Low beds, heavy sofas, solid wood, stone, or upholstered pieces with weight are ideal. This is not a place for novelty or experimentation. Lighting should be warm, dimmable, and steady. No flicker, no color-changing lights. Candles are supportive here if used intentionally and consistently. You may include a few deeply personal objects, but nothing exposed or sentimental for display. Scorpio heals in privacy. Avoid mirrors, reflective surfaces, or echoing acoustics. This zone must feel sealed, safe, and internally quiet. Core Scorpio AstroVastu Law. Containment restores power. Privacy restores trust. Trust allows transformation. When your home protects your intensity instead of leaking it, Mars expresses as controlled strength, Ketu expresses as inner mastery, and Scorpio finally experiences calm without losing depth. If your space is exposed, porous, or socially performative, your nervous system stays armed, and peace remains unreachable. This is not dark decor. This is power-preserving architecture for a Mars-Ketu life. You should treat the fifth house as the chamber where desire, creativity, and passion are allowed expression without spilling into compulsion. For Scorpio Rising, this zone governs whether intensity becomes generative or destructive. You must design this space to feel private, intentional, and deeply engaging, never performative. Scorpio does not create for applause. You create for transformation. If this space feels overly decorative, bright, or socially visible, desire turns inward as frustration or guilt. Use rich contained tones, deep wine, muted plum, dark teal, warm charcoal, or rust balanced with texture. Avoid playful pastels or flamboyant color schemes. They trivialize depth. Furniture here should feel immersive. Low seating, enclosed corners, or spaces that allow full absorption are ideal. This is a place to enter, not skim. Lighting should be intimate and focused. Pools of light work better than full illumination. Candles are powerful here, but only when used with intention and stability, never scattered, never dramatic. You may enhance this space with creative tools, art materials, or sensual objects that you actually use. Scorpio creativity needs secrecy and safety. If you use crystals, garnet, carnelian, or obsidian placed discreetly can stabilize passion without excess. Avoid exposing this space visually to common areas. When aligned, desire stabilizes, creativity deepens, and confidence grows quietly rather than compulsively. The sixth house governs discipline, daily effort, and how you channel inner fire into functional strength. For Scorpio Rising, this is where anger, libido, and willpower are either refined or allowed to turn corrosive. You must keep this zone clean, controlled, and efficient. Chaos here directly translates into emotional volatility and physical tension. Use grounded, warm neutrals: stone, warm gray, muted clay, soft olive. Avoid stark white or glossy finishes. They overstimulate and irritate. In kitchens or work areas, sharp tools must be stored neatly and visibly accessible. Fire elements, stove, heat, activity zones must feel dominant but controlled. No clutter near fire. Lighting should be practical and strong, but not harsh. Shadows over work surfaces create irritation and frustration. You may enhance this zone with grounding metals, dark ceramic containers, or subtle red accents used sparingly. Copper and iron support disciplined Mars energy. Avoid broken appliances, ignored repairs, or passive neglect. When aligned, anger converts into focused action, vitality improves, and daily effort feels purposeful rather than draining. The seventh house is the most critical zone for Scorpio Rising. This is where power either regenerates or continues fighting even in rest. You must design this space for deep grounding and emotional safety, not romance as display. If the bedroom feels light, exposed, or visually busy, Scorpio never fully disengages, leading to chronic exhaustion and relational mistrust. Use deep earth and water tones, warm brown, muted charcoal, deep taupe, soft black softened with fabric. Avoid whites, bright colors, or excessive contrast. The bed must be heavy, stable, and positioned with a solid wall behind it. A strong headboard is essential. Floating beds or mirrored surfaces destabilize power deeply. Lighting must be very soft and low. Bedside lamps with warm tones only. No overhead brightness. Darkness here is restorative, not depressive. Mirrors must never face the bed. Electronics should be minimal or absent. If you use crystals, smoky quartz or black tourmaline placed away from sight can support deep rest. When aligned, sleep becomes regenerative, emotional trust returns, and sexual energy renews cleanly rather than leaking into vigilance. The 8th house governs what is hidden, stored, unresolved, or waiting to be transformed. For Scorpio rising, this zone is extremely sensitive. You must keep this area sealed, orderly, and consciously managed. Clutter here does not stay neutral. It amplifies obsession, suspicion, and psychic noise. Use neutral, grounding colors: stone gray, muted beige, soft charcoal. Avoid dramatic color or emotional memorabilia. All storage must be closed. Nothing should be forgotten. Scorpio senses unresolved residue even when it is invisible. You should regularly audit this space. What you keep must serve purpose or hold conscious meaning. Someday items weigh heavily on Scorpio. Enhance with boxes, labels, and systems. If you use crystals, hematite or smoky quartz can support grounding, but only if hidden. Avoid broken items, emotional relics you are not ready to face, or hoarding. When aligned, emotional weight reduces, intensity softens into insight, and inner clarity increases. Here, Scorpio learns that control is not hoarding. It is conscious containment. You should treat the 9th house as the place where your intensity is given meaning instead of rigidity. For Scorpio rising, this zone governs truth, ethics, and the inner law that decides why you hold power at all. If this space is confused, dogmatic, or cluttered with conflicting belief systems, your depth turns inward as mistrust, cynicism, or quiet inner conflict. You should design this area to feel elevated, calm, and morally coherent. Use restrained, dignified tones: parchment, warm stone, muted indigo, deep olive softened with light. These colors allow wisdom to mature without dulling insight. Furniture here should feel upright and intentional. A firm chair, a clean writing or reading surface, and open vertical space are ideal. This is not a lounging zone. It is a contemplation zone. Lighting should be clear but gentle. Natural light is ideal. Artificial light should feel steady and focused, never theatrical. Scorpio needs clarity without exposure. You may enhance this space with text, symbols, or objects that represent lived truth, not ideology. Avoid overcrowding with spiritual tools or philosophies. If you work with crystals, lapis lazuli or labradorite placed quietly can support ethical clarity and inner vision. Avoid dogmatic decor, excessive symbolism, or intellectual clutter. When aligned, power aligns with ethics, insight matures into wisdom, and control becomes purpose-driven rather than defensive. The 10th house governs authority, strategy, and how you operate in the world without revealing your inner terrain. For Scorpio rising, imbalance here often shows up as micromanagement, burnout, paranoia around competence, or the feeling that you must control everything because no one else can be trusted. You should design this space to feel commanding, contained, and distraction-free. Use deep neutrals: charcoal, warm gray, espresso, muted navy with one restrained accent. Avoid bright colors or overly inspirational decor. Scorpio authority works best in silence. Furniture must feel solid and efficient. A strong desk, an upright chair, and minimal visible items are essential. Everything here should look intentional. Nothing decorative without function. Lighting should be focused and directional. Task lighting is preferable to ambient glow. You must feel alert, not exposed. You may include one symbol of competence or achievement, but keep it private. Scorpio does not need to display authority to feel it. Avoid clutter, chaotic paperwork, or overly social layouts. When aligned, strategy sharpens, authority stabilizes, and power is exercised quietly rather than defensively. The 11th house governs alliances, loyalty, and collective power. For Scorpio rising, this is not about popularity, it is about trust. You should design this zone to feel selective and grounded. Use neutral tones with subtle depth: warm gray, soft charcoal, muted green. Avoid flashy colors or emotionally expressive decor. Furniture should encourage connection without exposure. Group seating should feel enclosed rather than open. No wide, empty expanses that make you feel watched. Lighting should be warm and contained. Avoid bright overhead lights. Scorpio bonds best in environments that feel private even within groups. You may enhance this space with symbols of shared purpose, projects, books, or objects tied to long-term alliances. If you use crystals, green aventurine or smoky quartz can support stable, loyal connections. Avoid clutter, transient social decor, or anything that feels performative. When aligned, alliances feel secure, trust deepens, and support systems stabilize without drama. The 12th house is where Scorpio Rising completes its alchemy. This zone governs release, regeneration, and the transformation of intensity into mastery. You should design this space for silence, darkness, and energetic reset. Use very soft neutrals, warm gray, off-white, muted taupe, shadowed beige. Avoid strong color identity. This is a dissolving zone. Furniture should be minimal. Open space matters more than objects. This is not storage or productivity territory. Lighting must be indirect and very gentle. Reflected light, shaded lamps, or near darkness is ideal. Bright light here prevents release. You may place one object only, a smooth stone, a bowl, a candle used intentionally. If you use crystals, selenite, or clear quartz placed discreetly can support purification. Avoid mirrors, emotional memorabilia, or anything that pulls you back into identity. When aligned, obsession dissolves, vigilance drops, and peace emerges without weakness. Here, Scorpio learns the deepest truth. Power does not need guarding when it is integrated.